Bibi Eastwood, discussing COVID-19, the pandemic, and the roles different echelons of society play in this time. So I'd like to introduce you, without any further ado, to Bibi. Here she is. Well, here she comes. Here we go.
Hello, hi everyone.
So can you just introduce yourself briefly and
Yeah, sure.
let everybody know who you are and how we came to be chatting to each other?
Okay, so yes, my name is Bibi Eastwood, and I've been in the physical rehab industry for a long time. I'm a personal trainer. I have a background in dance, and I suppose I've always liked what you do. So I've always kind of been a follower of yours and a fan. And yes, and then you had this topic which you tried to discuss before, which I thought was really interesting. Um, so
So
yeah, so I thought I would get in touch at that point.
cool. Well, so to talk about the topic, the topic that's being referred to in this is the post here. If you see on the right, I've seen this post copied and pasted and put it all over the place. And basically, as you can see, it says next year I don't want to hear about the same the Sama, Brits, the Oscars, BAFTAs, or Golden Globes. Don't want to see single pathetic actress, singer, celebrity, or sports person on any red carpet. Next year I want to see nurses, doctors, police, ambulance crews, carers, support workers, all emergency service, shop workers, army, lorry drivers, having free red carpet parties with awards and expensive goodie bags. If this doesn't happen, it'll be the biggest injustice ever. Thank you all who are working hard to keep me safe and allow me to have food on my table. Thank you to the farmers, especially the farmers. We love you. Keep loving what you do. Copy and paste, blah blah blah. So it's basically trying to I see the spirit of what the person's trying to do and celebrating the key workers that are really doing an amazing job at this time. But I personally don't think it's necessary to show support by denigrating another demographic. There's no need to lift one while crushing another. So
Yeah.
I wanted to hear your view on this. Yeah, go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I largely agree with you. It's it's so difficult to make a comparison because obviously these celebrities have very different kinds of jobs. So as you say, it's like why would you sort of bash a whole bunch of people that don't offer services directly in healthcare as such? I think it's a beautiful thing to acknowledge and celebrate a lot of people who are working really hard and in a high risk, potentially very high risk situation. Yes, but it's a there's obviously a lot of strong emotion there, and I think that is a curious thing, and I think quite a lot of people are feeling this way as well.
Mm. While we're chatting, everybody out there, if you have anything to add or you want to get involved in the conversation, please comment. Don't hold back. Share the video with others if you think they might be interested. Let's all get involved, and we will address whatever you have. We're not going to take ages. We want this to be done and dusted in the next 20 minutes or so. We don't want to draw this out all day. Interestingly, going back to what we're discussing, I see a British magazine has started. I'm going to throw you off the screen for a second, but a British magazine has started to actually do just that by revering some of the NHS workers and showing putting them on the cover of their magazines. So here's two examples that I saw today, which is very interesting, and I think it's a great step in the right direction, where everyday people that do extraordinary things should be given the credit that they deserve. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very tough one because, again, like I tried to iterate when I did my solo mission, the solo monologue, I was struggling a little bit because there was no bounce back. But every single echelon of society contributes a lot in some way. There's been a lot of other stuff where I've seen other posts where they like, "Where's your opinion now on Mr. Celebrity?" or something like that. I don't know if you've seen something your opinions are worthless, etc., etc., etc. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's also always easy to crucify people in the public eye, especially with social media, because you can't always discuss the merits of something very easily. It's such a little snapshot bullet, if you like, that goes out there. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it is. Again, it's tricky because people in this healthcare industry, so many of them do it for passion. Certainly not for huge amounts of money. And there's lots of people in all sorts of services who are in those industries. You know, maybe they get paid decently or there's a range, but they certainly don't do it for money, and they certainly can't sell what they do over and over again like a celebrity can. And they're not in the public eye, really. So, you know, we can't really attack them. That they're not on display all of the time in the same way that celebrities are. So, not that I'm suggesting that we attack or verbally abuse healthcare workers.
Yeah. The thing is, though, again, it's like, because there's that whole imbalance of earning capacity as well. So you got, I used to get irritated coming from an adventure sports background. There's this whole thing of adventure sports people can barely afford to live in a caravan and feed themselves and throw themselves off cliffs and jump out of airplanes and throw themselves off waterfalls and can hardly afford to live, and really risk their lives and watch their mates sometimes die as a result and get paid next to nothing. And you got some footballer who gets looked at wrong on the football field, falls over and cries and acts like he's been most wounded person on the planet and gets paid millions of pounds a week. And the same could be said about these key workers and stuff getting their low, I mean, whatever income they get, it's not millions of pounds a week. I'm not going to say they get low income. I'm not going to say they get high income, because it's relative, obviously, but it's just disproportionate. And this is, I think, where a lot of the animosity that's being generated on social media is coming from. But obviously, I think the thing to address there is the fact that one sector of the job market is actually generating extreme amounts of revenue, and the other isn't. And how do we change that, and how do we fix that? The football player is getting paid as millions of pounds a week because he draws millions, if not billions, of pounds of revenue through ticket sales, through filling stadiums, through all the rest of it. So at the end of the day, as much as we denigrate that situation, we are the ones responsible for it as the consumer of that product.
Yeah, I also agree with you on that one. We have a lot of synchronicity, I guess, on this. But, well, it's the same thing, like if you take the example maybe of a rock star. He spends, I don't know, a month creating a track, it gets recorded, and then you can sell that 3 minutes across the world over and over again.
That's it.
Which you can't do, of course, if you're saving someone's life. So like it is just part of being in an unfair world. And like to get in on what you said at the very end of your last bit was about what you actually give in value and people making their own choices. Like I think people are very good also at being emotional and ranting and not necessarily making choices in line with those feelings. So not that I know who wrote that, but somebody might rant and then sit on their sofa and just keep ranting. Whereas you could make the choice of, donating to your local Red Cross or your hospital or something that's contributing to the people that you want to value.
So that's great, because that's actual tangible steps that you can actually take.
Yeah. So it is voting with your dollar if that is what bothers people.
To go back
in wealth.
Sorry if I keep cutting you off. It's because there's a bit of a lag. So I think that you stop. I'm not trying to talk over you. if going back to that post though, and talking about how you don't want to see people on red carpets, etc., and you want to see that, I think if there was an actual demand for people to watch the Firemen's Awards, because they do exist, they're not. It's not like they don't exist. There's also there's things like the Firemen's Games, which are incredible. It's extreme demonstrations of athleticism and fitness and stuff that go into the Firemen's Games. I don't know what it's actually called, but it's a massive competition, international competition for firemen. If there was more support from the general populace on those sort of things, then more money would be generated and more revenue would be channeled through those streams. So then going also onto the thing of opinions of celebrities, as much as they are just actors, actresses, and all the rest of it, these are people that, in what I think, that are seeing the world in a slightly different light than the average Joe. And even having acted in certain things, any good actor or actress would research their part to some good extent to be able to execute it correctly. So having an opinion on something is not completely unjustified, surely, as well as the fact that because they're in the public eye, they have an ability to get a message across to many, many, many people. And we don't always know who's behind the message that they are delivering. So sometimes when they're trying to get involved and trying to do the right thing, they are being used as a conduit just to get the message out there. So I think it has its merits, but at the same time, it can be used really badly, as I've seen in the conservation world. There's some really, really, really misguided celebrities that need some reining in, and then you want to just slap them in the face and say, "Hey, stay in your lane, mate." I can see there's a couple of comments. We had 13. We've got about 9 people watching right now, but from what I can see, there's a major lag between us and the actual Facebook broadcast. So I just want to say how's it to Charles, Ilse, Gail, Mark. How are you guys? Thank you for coming. Tracy, Ruan, thank you guys. So if there's anything that you guys out there have to add to this, or if you want to argue the situation, we'll keep rambling along. If I see a comment that challenges what we're talking about, then we'll definitely address it. Charles was saying, why did they start with number 19, COVID-19? Why not COVID-1? Did they fail 18 times with the creation of this virus? Basically, the 19 is 2019, Charles. Coronavirus is, so COVID is coronavirus disease. 19 is 2019 because that's when it was discovered. And just to answer that question, coronavirus is a generic term for viruses, like you would call antelope a generic term for different types of buck and impala. So I think flu is also a coronavirus. I'm not a doctor, don't hit me. But yeah, there are a hell of a lot of different coronaviruses, and this particular one is novel coronavirus disease 2019. So that's how that name came in. There's Ilse saying hello.
Hello.
Okay, I think I answered that question. I don't know. Tell me if I'm lying. I could be lying. One of the things I pride myself on is having strong opinions loosely held. So I'll have a strong opinion until someone gives me data that shows me otherwise, then I'll change my opinion. So if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, well, something that's also very challenging, I think, is even finding out correct information. Sorry, you have to walk with me on the camera. My child's knocking on the door. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, there's just such a flush of information. I don't know how anyone even makes sense of what's going on.
But this is the problem with fake news and social media in general, isn't it? It's an absolute minefield of nonsense and craziness. It's just you have to sift through a lot of bullshit. And the other problem with the internet is that you, like Google, is you get what you search for. So you need to know how to search. You have to have a very critical mind to utilize the internet properly. You have to search both sides, research both sides, look at all angles of the equation, and then come to your own conclusions. Because if you search for what you're looking for, you will find what you're looking for, one side or another, every time.
Yeah, and also there's so many sort of conspiracy theories, and 5G is brought in, and it's And again, I'm also speaking, I don't know much about 5G. I don't know that much about what's being said about these conspiracy theories, but I can see how it's easy to believe them as well. Because so often things are launched and then only much later do we find out that things were bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Charles says, thank you, Paul. I look up to you like you're my Mr. Google. Don't, bro. You'll be misinformed.
So yeah, and so I can't see the comments. I don't know why. So I'm just relying on info that's coming through from you, Paul.
Yeah, no worries. I actually, because I've got 4 computers going here at the same time. So I'm watching our live stream on a different computer, and then I'm watching us through this computer. But yeah.
1 second.
Hey, there's Nicolette. Hi, Nikki. Nice to see you. That's cool. Does this? I wonder. This doesn't share onto your profile, does it?
Well, for some reason, just before this call, my laptop and my Facebook is not working. It's not downloading anything. So I'm doing this from my phone. So I can't see anything on Facebook right now, bizarrely, for the first time ever in my life. So I'm on my phone. I apologize if my thing is wonky.
Your video is just frozen. Okay, it's back. All right. Anyway, I think. Do you have anything else that you want to say on this topic?
Well, I'd like to know for anyone that is watching and is sort of tuned in because they're interested in the topic of celebrities and the healthcare workers, like how people feel about it wherever they are. I mean, I'm in Zim, right? So celebrities are not too much of a thing. Politicians, yes. But I wouldn't want to stand on a red carpet anyway looking at a politician. But so I'm just wondering, for wherever people are, what they think about it in their context.
Yeah. So there's, like I said, there's a bit of a lag between us and the actual broadcast. So it'll take a few minutes for anybody to get the comments to come through. But yeah, let's give them some time, and then we will see if anybody's got any input that they want to ask or add to the situation. There's Shirley. Hi, Shirley. Good night, Charles. Thanks for coming, mate. But yeah, so I'll just take a moment. This is something that I would like to do regularly. I'm going to have to find a sponsor, because to do this more than 3 times in 1 month, I have to get a paid subscription to this broadcasting, and that's going to cost $30 US a month, which is not cheap. So if there's anyone out there that's interested and would like to sponsor a month, I'll happily plug your business and plug your whatever. Tell me what I must say for $30 a month, and I'll say it. As long as it doesn't go against my values and ethics, I will happily give you a shout out and say whatever you feel like as a sponsor. I'll take a moment to plug myself a little bit. So if you haven't already, please go and check out the Chronicles of Suntwe. That's where I write short stories. And it looks like that's the logo. You can Google it. It's on my website. There's also a Facebook group, so go for it. It's a quite important little tool. Yeah. So Ilse, our communications minister was suspended for having dinner and posting it online. She's a public figure, and they just have no regard for the rest of the public. So that's in South Africa. Communication minister was suspended for having dinner and posting it online. Yeah, that's a little bit offsides. But I mean, let's be honest, when it comes to the politics in South Africa, Zimbabwe, a lot of places in the world, there's rules for some and not for others. That's a whole other discussion. I don't think I want to dive into that right now today. I don't know. Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes to politicians, exactly, they're the ones that do kind of make the rules,
Yeah.
versus celebrities, I guess, kind of doing their own thing as they choose within the law. Um, yeah, it's also, I think, part of social media as well, is you get to see what everybody's doing all of the time if you're in the public eye for whatever reason. And I think that can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing, because people's opinions can be swayed, and it's a high emotion time, right, during this shutdown. People are under a lot of psychological stress, emotional stress, blah, blah, blah. So it's easy to fire off. Yeah, that's all that I have to say about that one.
Well, we've hit 21 minutes.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, Ilse just said yes and essay. No, it was just interesting. So what are celebrities doing during this lockdown? It's a good question. I think most of them have just locked themselves away. I think a lot of them are quite afraid of the situation. I know,
Yeah.
here in the UK, people are quite panicked about what's going on, and rightfully so, because there's I live in a little village in the UK, so we're a bit sheltered from everything. I live in the middle of the forest, but yeah, so we don't see much. But in London, it's chaos, absolute chaos. I have friends in the NHS who just say that it's bad. That's all I can say on that. Dulcie Quill has said, what are your views on the private hospital in Harare for all the politicians? The gentleman who just passed away here of corona, apparently it took 4 days for the results of the positive result to come out. Just seems there's no urgency. What are your views? Well, let me tell you from a British standpoint, it's a little bit strange because firstly, if there's a private hospital dedicated to politicians in Harare and they're funding it through taxpayers' money, which they probably are, then it's bad. If they're funding it through their own pockets, well, that's a different story, and I don't really have a comment on it. But it's again going back to the whole thing of there's rules for the elites and rules for the commoners, and unfortunately, when you're a commoner, you're a commoner. It's not right. It will never be right. But it is what it is, and I think we can shout and whine about it, or we can do something and get on our own thing, like we've always done in Zimbabwe. From my experience, is we've seen the ineptocracy that we're dealing with, and we normally just deal with things ourselves. When electricity is not available, we get generators and solar power. When water is not available, we drill boreholes. When healthcare is not quite up to scratch, we rally together. When Cyclone Idai happened, private entities came together and did all the rescues. It's just, we take it into our own hands in Zimbabwe. But if you want to hear my perspective from England, which is crazy scary, I mean, they're doing the best they can here, and you have to be somewhat understanding. But in England, you can't even get tested. So the fact that the gentleman in Bulawayo's test took 4 days is a massive improvement on the fact that in Zimbabwe, I mean, in England, you can't get tested. You literally get told by the NHS, don't even phone us until you're dying. Once you're dying, we'll then decide if we take you into the hospital or not, if we've got space for you. If we do have space for you, then we'll treat you and probably then test you to see if you are positive or not, but only at that point that it might even be too late. So things here are so so hectic that you can't even compare it. I mean, you're sitting there saying that you guys have got tests. We don't even have tests. It's not non-existent. We can't get a test. And then we have the same double standard, because where I can't get tested, my neighbor can't get tested, and the common Joe can't get tested. But we hear every day, oh, Prince Charles got tested, and Prince Andrew this, and Boris Johnson tested positive, and now Boris Johnson's in ICU. And don't get me wrong, I wish BJ all the best. I like Boris because he's just a delightful buffoon. But yeah, it's one of those things. You can cry about it or do something about it. Daniel Ritchie, nice to see you, Dan. Hope you're doing well, man. Don't think we can rely on the stats here. Oh, the thing. Sorry, Daniel Ritchie. Don't think we can rely on the stats here. Appears low numbers, or is it the quiet before the storm? What do you think, Bibi?
Well, I was actually discussing this a little bit earlier with a friend, and it comes back a little bit to what we were saying about how you even get information. I have very little confidence in the government to really accurately record anything, let alone whether something might actually be a corona death virus or something that looks like something else. And I also have this feeling of like, I don't know either whether it's about to really spread. And this is the calm before the storm. How would we even know? It is tricky, at least here in Zimbabwe, because we just don't actually have a clue, and there's no real way of finding out. So that is kind of weird. And when you're talking about this whole testing thing, I have no idea how many testing kits there are here. Apparently, if you have some US dollars, you can go to some pharmacies, I've heard, and buy a test for yourself. But of course, again, poor people
I know.
cannot afford to do that. So
I know one or two
it's
individuals
so
who've
tricky.
been privately tested in Zim. I'm not going to say who, but there are some individuals that I know that have been privately tested.
Yeah, so it's possible, but obviously the highest risk, I think, is for those high density poor areas, because the sanitation is poor, their nutrition is poor, they've got to all live on top of each other or very close to each other. Like I so feel for those people, because
The
I really
majority,
also feel like there's no help, and there's no way to probably even track where the virus is going if it spreads, how it's being passed from who to who, which I know in other places they're trying to do. So if someone gets it, they test everybody around in their circle that they've been in contact with. So it's a huge problem, I think, for us. I have no real answer about how to solve it.
Sorry, let me cut you off there. We've got a very interesting comment. Hi, my name is Nicola. I work on the front line in the NHS in England. I can tell you from the inside it is bad. We've had 9 deaths in total just in the community. This is within 2 days of me working. She also said, I think in response to my little rant about the UK NHS, she said, only if you haven't got comorbidities, shocking people that are severely ill won't be accepted onto COVID wards, just have to stay at home and hope the community will save you.
Right.
Thanks, Nicola.
So I think it's also a matter of scale, is it not?
Yeah,
it's resources versus number of people requiring the resources. So there's probably a process of trying to find out how do you minimize the strain on the resources. Like it's a horrible, harsh decision to make, but it's got to be made, I should imagine. So you're trying to find
like this all the time in emergency services as well. I mean, I've seen it firsthand last year with the cyclone, where you've got 20 critically wounded people and space for 10 to get them out on the first chopper, and you have to make the decision. That's just one of those things. There's nothing that can be done yet. Nicola's added that we have not peaked yet here in the UK, so that's concerning. Dulcie, wishing your friend all the best. Hopefully that all comes right. Under sedation on a ventilator. It's a godsend he's in a first world country. Well, that is a godsend. Going back to the stats for Zimbabwe, it's again, you can't have stats if you're not testing. So it's just it's crazy. But I've heard again rumors that pneumonia deaths have increased exponentially in the last couple of weeks or something. So is it misdiagnosis? Is it pneumonia as a result of? Is it what? It's just so hard. It's the same thing. I had a situation where, because of my involvement with Cyclone Idai rescues last year, I constantly get asked the same question, and that same question is, how come the numbers of dead is only 1,800 or whatever reported? There are many, many, many more things. And the reason for that is that a death statistic can only be given and confirmed if there's a confirmed death in the body. So thousands went missing, but they're unaccounted for. So the numbers dead are the confirmed bodies that have been counted, loaded, and buried. So statistics are difficult. There's rules, regulations, and standards for how the statistics are delivered, and that often causes a delay in the statistics. It causes inaccuracies in the statistics, and a lot of gray areas. So it's not as simple as. Oh, here comes another comment from Ilse says that is horrible. It's sickening. Thought the UK would be quite on. Thought the UK would be quite on the ball with this. They are on the ball. It's just a massive, massive issue. Like I said, I don't want to fault the UK and what they're doing in the NHS. They're doing a bloody good job, but it's like it's again just having the tools and the sheer manpower and the actual physical space and equipment. It's just. This is why I've been worrying about Zimbabwe so much, because if a place like the UK, with resources, with money, with the ability to mobilize like that, is struggling, then a place like Zimbabwe, you guys need to really, really adhere to your lockdowns and your safety protocols, because if the shit hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan properly. Nicola says, with regard to testing, I've been offered a test. I have to go to London COVID Central to get my test, but they have declined tests to people I live with. We have been told that by the end of April to expect a possible 20,000 deaths when the peak hits.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am sincerely hoping that there's truth in this theory that the virus doesn't like heat. And that there's a possible kind of immunity because of people being immunized for TB.
Yeah, the BGC.
I mean, I've seen that going around. Again, don't know the quality of the science and the truth behind it. I know everyone's grasping and clasping at things and hope and so on. So I also really hope that turns out to be true, because like with all of this stuff, the elite certainly here will be fine. They've got their special private hospital. And yeah, everyone else will just have to suffer and get on with it. And I think, with Cyclone Idai, it was such an amazing thing to see how people came forward and helped, brought things, ferried things, just helped in so many different ways. And I think people would like to do that to a degree with this, but everyone's scared as well. They don't want to expose themselves. They don't want to carry it or pass it on. So I think there's also a bit of a wall in the way that people are able to help because of the risks. So, yeah. And we'll see what happens. It's just ghastly even to say that. But like I said, I really hope that there's some truth in the virus not liking heat, and that TB vaccinations have already given us some sort of like pre-immunity at large, and that it won't be devastating. But we'll see.
The other thing that you have an advantage of is the fact that you have a heads up. The thing with the UK, and the reason why there's massive infection rates in places like the UK and the US, is because these are, for want of a better expression, the center of the universe. Everybody travels through London. It's a massive hub for travel, for international comings and goings. And the situation started. It came in, it went crazy. We started putting the UK started putting the measures in place that were necessary. And countries like Zimbabwe are lucky in the fact that they're 3 weeks behind the entire thing because of the lack of the same level of travel between places. So that's given you a heads up, and you've already been able to see what other countries are doing and what's working and what's not working. So you have a major opportunity to nip this thing in the bud, because you have a forecast already. Whereas when it hits England and it hit China, it was a new thing. Like, what the hell? Nicola says 5 to 10% of those in China previously hospitalized have been readmitted, but stats have not been published due to fear of threat on government. Same said for my friends in Italy and Spain. Nurses being reinfected but not reported for demographic and economic stats. Interesting. Sorry, you were going to say something in the previous.
No, I was only going to say the other thing that we don't know is whilst we are ahead of the curve in terms of finding out about it potentially and having a head start, we also, one of the places that we do have a lot of immigration and movement of humans from is China. So I think a lot of people have also wondered whether it's also actually been here for a while.
Yeah.
And has it just been undiagnosed, put down to pneumonia? Again, we can't know. Is it not as explosive in terms of spreading because of these other factors I already mentioned, temperature and TB or whatever? I don't know. And again, everyone's got their unique circumstances.
I'm going to bring Nicola into the conversation.
Cool.
I'm going to give her a... Nicola, just click this link and come and join us in the conversation. I just got to work out how to do this. Blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I'll put it here. Hopefully that's sent. Yeah, it's sent. Okay, click that link, Nicola, and you can join us in the conversation and have a few words to say. She wrote, infection control here is at least 3 weeks behind other countries. And liaising with friends, our infection control will not accept other countries' report as it's not shown yet. Don't know what that means. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought because I was gone onto the comments there.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how. It would be actually nice to know if people put in their comments where they actually are in the world watching this. Because we tend to be more aware of what's happening kind of around us, I think.
While we wait for Nicola to join, this has gone way longer than I expected. Are you still okay for time then?
Me, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a child who wants to play chess with me randomly. So I'll do a few more minutes, but yeah, we were also unprepared for this to go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, while we wait for Nicola, I'm just going to say that. Okay, she's going to get on. She's just downloading something. Yeah. Again, I'd like to do this kind of thing with different guests as often as possible. Bibi's been amazing today. It makes such a difference having someone to talk to. I'm open to all sorts of different topics. I'm very keen to tackle hunting and conservation as a topic. I'm very keen to tackle all sorts of dodgy ground. So if you feel like you've got something to say on the topic and want to get involved, please can you just inbox me, direct message me, and with a topic we can then chat privately and see if it's something worth pursuing, and yeah, really get some conversations going and some entertainment going during this, and use this lockdown period productively. Let's see if we've got any luck with Nicola.
Is she coming on?
It's so Nicholas CJ Cook is UK, Natalie Pinar in Harare. We already know that Nicola is in the NHS, so she's somewhere in the UK. Rob Potts, I believe you're in Australia. Daniel Ritchie's in Bulawayo. Ilse Jordan is in Race, I think, in South Africa. Dulcie's in Bulawayo. Ross Johnson's in Bulawayo. Well, Ross, hope you're enjoying the snake season.
How's it going down in Bulawayo? I'd like to know how people are feeling down there, because the most recently reported death has been this older man in Bulawayo. Yeah, maybe, again, I can't see the comments, but maybe just if you could put a little something, that'd be cool. I'd like to know what it's like, certainly. having heard that news.
I wonder what's happening. Is Nicola almost there? Otherwise, we have to call it quit.
And you said a few minutes, and it's been a few minutes.
Tatenda. So Tatenda Machangu's just joined. He was I was on his team at the Cyclone Idai thing. He was he's a works with Econet and was very instrumental in during the logistics of all the food aid logistics during Cyclone Idai, and really was supportive.
Wow. Okay.
Rob Potts in Australia is saying, "Hi, I'm in Australia, but our cases are on the decline and we aren't in lockdown." So they're taking a different.
Okay.
Nicholas says, "Sorry, guys, it's taking a mo, but it's happening." Yeah, so he says they aren't in lockdown, but their cases are in decline. Well, that's great news. So you're obviously doing something right down there. Are the borders still open? Are people still traveling? What's changed? What's made a difference? One of the big things that I believe with this situation is that I think there's a massive population of people that are asymptomatic, which is the scary part, because you just don't know who's got it and who doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Australia did close their borders, didn't they? So if you were an Australian citizen, you could fly in. But you couldn't be there as a tourist. You had to like either get out or cancel your your holiday or your visit, because they were definitely closing down on that stuff.
Daniel says from Bulawayo they've not been given much information, but apparently they've followed up on all his contacts made. So I am assuming that Daniel's referring to the gentleman that's recently passed away. They've traced his contacts and are looking at where his potential infection originated and if he's probably infected others. Yeah, they did that with the Vic Falls case as well. Who was supposed to be patient zero for Zimbabwe, the first case in Zimbabwe. They were very stringent about taking down all of his information of who he's seen and who he's interacted with in the past however long. Rob Potts has answered. He said borders are shut internationally, nationally and regional. So no one's allowed to go anywhere. It's not formal shutdown, but you can't travel, I guess. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so I don't know. I still don't see Nicola on here at all. Oh, Daniel's saying, I do not think they have followed up. That's very interesting. Sandy Baines says she's in the UK. Oh, Bibi's gone. Something happened and we lost someone. We lost Bibi. Anyway, that is sometimes how it goes. Technical difficulties. There's always going to be technical difficulties. So if nobody's got any more to say, I'll give you guys 1 or 2 more minutes to make a comment if you want. But otherwise, I reckon we will start calling it a wrap. Ah, there's Bibi. She's messaging me now on Facebook. She said she froze. I'm just going to tell her to try reconnect. Okay, I think yeah, Daniel's saying you can see that there's been posts of sanitizing the streets, etc., etc., etc. Let me see if I can give Nicola one more chance to try and get in on this. I think Bibi's back. I don't know either. These technical difficulties are normal. Nothing. I basically just told people that you vanished. Oh, that's a very, very interesting. Okay, hold on. I don't think. Sorry, I'm talking to you, but I don't think you're actually on. There you go. Now you're back. Now you're
All right.
on.
Hi everyone. So I was just speaking to Paul and you couldn't hear me. I was just saying I'm really interested in finding out about how people feel about once the so-called lockdown and panic time is over. Because
Oh, she's here.
I'm yeah. Oh, is Nicola here?
She is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the meantime, if you can put some comments about whether you think we will get back to a sense of normality, or whether we'll always have this kind of threat sensitivity to germs and viruses and people coughing near us. I mean, is it just going to change how we always are from now on? I don't know if people can put a little something how they feel about that.
Okay, we'll give them a chance to do that. Whilst they putting those comments on, it seems I have to drop you off the screen to put Nicola on. So I'm going to
That's cool.
hide you
Go
for a
ahead.
second,
Do that.
and then I'll put Nicola on. So this is Nicola. She's going to introduce herself. Nicola, you'll be on in 2, 1, and you're on. Hi, nice
Oh
to meet
wow,
you.
hi. Nice to meet you. Yeah, and I found your stuff quite interesting actually, but I'm just like from actually working on the inside, it's really shocking. like it's bad, and people don't even realize like the amount of people that will hurl abuse at everyone else just saying, oh, social distancing, blah blah blah, blah, but yet they'll walk into Tesco down an aisle which is not even like a meter apart from each other, yet they'll hurl abuse at everyone else. Like, what do you think of that?
Okay, so just to reiterate, you want to know about the social ramifications of people becoming frustrated with each other because of the situation they're facing.
Yeah, I mean, I only dropped into sort of part of that conversation. I was trying to sort of fix other things up, so I don't know exactly where you are. I lost a bit of that conversation that you were having, so
Yeah, I can't remember.
okay. Well,
I haven't personally experienced any rudeness or anything from people. And where I live is a very small little village. Everybody's quite, you know, meek and mild. Yeah, they're not. It's not city life where people are bumping into each other and a bit more aggressive. So I don't really have personal experience on that. But now we've got you on here. You can tell a bit more about your experience and what you've seen and any warning that you have for people in Zimbabwe, and don't be complacent. I'm going to go through some comments because I see there's comments coming through.
I can't see any of. I don't think I can see any of those.
No,
Sorry, I've
you
never done
can't
this
see
thing
the
before,
comments.
so I don't know.
So Ilse says, I think this virus is going to have a massive effect for still a few months, even years. Oh yeah, we were talking about. Do we ever think we will actually get back to normal, or has this changed us as human beings fundamentally, that we'll actually always be afraid of this now and it'll be something hanging over us for the rest of our lives, basically?
Well, just from a medical point of view.
Just to finish Ilse's comment, and it will have a massive change on people's own hygiene and personal space. But I also think we might be in for a longer lockdown than planned here in South Africa. Sandy Baines says, just like less traveling following air crashes, people will be careful for a while after the virus is under control. I think that things will go back to normal. So she's saying that people will do that old thing that they do, is they learn for a short amount of time and then old habits die hard and they go back to normal.
Yeah.
Daniel says, I think we will be on the aware from now on, as I don't think this is going to go away. And Ilse says this is going to be disastrous for our country. Don't know about the rest of the world like by you guys, Paul. So my input on that is definitely there's economic disaster coming because there's everything just stopped. but I don't know. I don't have an opinion on how that should be handled. I have a very good mate that thinks that reckons the economic disaster will be worse than the actual fallout from the virus, and he thinks everything should go back to normal, and those that need to die must die. But I mean, that's quite a cold way of doing things. But it's one of these situations where there is no right answer. There's lesser evils, and we have to just try and decide and identify what the lesser evil is and work with that. There is no get out of jail free card on this one, and there is no definitive right answer. It's blurry all the way you look at it.
At the moment. And I'm only going to say that just because we don't yet have a vaccine. We don't have anything. It's like, say, for example, infections that we know of. As soon as we know of them and we know how to treat them, you get treated, you then get better, hopefully. And then after that, you carry on your normal daily life. So as soon as they find some sort of reasonable vaccine for all of this, people will just, I guarantee you, in about, I don't know, like less than 3 years' time after all of this, people will just go, it will be one of those situations where they'll say, oh yeah, do you remember that COVID? Yeah, we remember that. But as soon as they've got a vaccine, they'll just go back to old ways. And then thereafter, they'll just patiently await for a next time, because there's always going to be a next virus. There's always going to be something like that. So something like this is basically a very, very mild version of back in medieval times with the Black Plague. They didn't know what it was. So they were isolating themselves to protect themselves. We're doing exactly the same thing. We just don't have a vaccine yet. As soon as we have one, people will just go back to their normal daily living and not really think about it again, only when it crops up into a conversation.
And as a healthcare professional, do you have anything to say to all those conspiracy theorists that are all anti-vax and saying the vaccine that's coming, this is all engineered for this vaccine to be administered to control the world and control the population? I mean, I know it's ludicrous, but that's so simple.
Oh my Christ. Like, if you saw, like, actually what people do inside the labs, like how hard, like, everyone here in the NHS is working our asses off to save everyone else, like, will you then see actually maybe there is some hard work that goes into this, and it's not just some magic person that goes and creates a vaccine to go and floor us all, like, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slap in the face, really, isn't it?
It's just like, what the hell, people? Like, spend a day in, you'll see exactly what happens. Like, literally within 2 days of working, 9 people dead. Like, that's not even, we're not even peaked yet. There's like literally my colleagues left, right and centre dropping like flies. Today, for example, going out straight into a COVID like household with nothing but some, like, a pair of gloves, an apron which is just flappy and everything like that, and a mask which just has like that sort of gap there. You know, I can get air in and out of that. How is that protecting me? I have one single FFP3 mask, and that is the only mask that will protect, and it won't protect, fail to say, it won't protect other people, but it'll protect myself. So it will stop me from absorbing anything in, but it won't protect them from me breathing things out. And I have one of those to last me for however long that this whole thing lasts at the moment. Like, So yeah, it's a bit like, for people to go and say, oh, these like vaccine, much like people are so anti-flu vaccines, you know, they're like, oh, it's going to give my child this, or, you know, whichever. It's just like, yeah, if you saw the work that actually went behind it, or you actually, you know, sort of spent a day in there to see it, you wouldn't think like that.
All right, I'm going to stop you there, Nicola, because I'm going to bring Bibi back in and let her go, because she's got life to live. Thank you for coming. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
Okay, so coming back in is Bibi. I think we're going to wrap it from here. Here she is. Hi. I don't know if you had, I don't know how much you could hear of that, or were you fully in?
Yeah, I could hear everything.
Oh, okay, cool. So you weren't like locked out while you were off the screen.
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
So anything else that you want to say just before we wrap this whole thing up?
Well, Paul and everyone out there, not really as such. It was interesting to hear what Nicola had to say, being on the front lines. And obviously that's a country that has some decent, well, that's debatable, decent money put into healthcare, but certainly more than here in Zimbabwe. So she's got her one mask, and she's around the virus actually all the time. And that's, of course, a very different experience for the rest of us who are isolating and staying away from people. But yes, we'll see if they develop a vaccine, which I'm sure they're bound to at some point. It'll be interesting to see even a year from now. You know, we've got Easter as our reminder in time, our little mark in time. What will it be like 2021, 2022? Yeah, and how much we have changed or not. It'll be highly revealing of human behavior and nature with this kind of thing. And that is very interesting. But yeah, I do hope everyone stays safe. I know everyone says that to death, and it's a bit, but it's true. It's like, I want people to stay safe and take the precautions that they can, and just hope for the best for everybody, wherever it is that you are.
Natalie Pienon says, I think the repercussions and peripheral damage this is causing, such as mental health issues and economic damage, will affect us for a while after this. I don't think it will become a distant thought too quickly. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what develops. But I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. I'm going to say it one more time. Thank you to everybody who's gotten involved and gotten in on the conversation. Anyone who's watching, thank you as well. As I said before, I'm keen to do this as much or as often as possible. Different topics, different guests. If you want to be a guest, give me a shout out. If you know someone you think should be a guest, give them a shout out and tell them to inbox me. Some good stimulating conversation would be great. And please, to make this successful, please share this video, tag people, show whoever you think might think it was interesting. Give us feedback. If you thought it was absolute horseshit, tell me that too. Tell me where I can improve. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm okay with that. Although if you're a dick, I will just block you. Do it nicely. Be nice. Yeah, so thanks everybody, and thank you very much, Bibi, for taking the time out to come and chat.
Thank you, Paul, for having me on.
Catch you later, everyone.
Bye.